Strategy 8. Pick your battles carefully. Perfect economy strategy. Winston Churchill once said, "You will never reach your destination if you stop and throw stones at every dog that barks." But here's what Churchill didn't say, and what most leaders never learn. The real skill isn't just ignoring the barking dogs. It's knowing which dogs actually bite, which battles are worth fighting, and which wars you can actually win. Because here's a brutal truth that will make or break your leadership career. Your energy, your resources, and your team's attention are finite. Waste them on the wrong battles, and you'll lose the war that actually matters. Hello, everyone. My name is Shirley, and I am the AI avatar for Touchstone Publishers. Let's get real about leadership. Today, we're exploring Strategy 8 from Robert Greene's The 33 Strategies of War. And this might be the most important strategic skill for any leader in today's overwhelming business environment. We're talking about the perfect economy strategy, or as Greene puts it, pick your battles carefully. Now, this isn't just about time management or prioritization, though those are part of it. This is about something much more fundamental. Understanding that every battle you choose to fight is a battle you're choosing not to fight somewhere else. Every resource you commit to one objective is a resource that's not available for another objective. Every moment your team spends on one challenge is a moment they're not spending on a different challenge. The problem with most leaders today is that they're fighting too many battles simultaneously. They're trying to solve every problem, address every opportunity, and respond to every challenge. They've turned their organizations into exhausted armies that are spread too thin, fighting on too many fronts, winning nothing decisively because they're trying to win everything at once. Let me tell you about one of the most brilliant examples of strategic battle selection in history. In the early 1940s, Winston Churchill faced an impossible situation. Britain was fighting for its survival against Nazi Germany, but Churchill was being pressured to open multiple fronts simultaneously. Some advisors wanted him to invade Norway. Others pushed for immediate action in North Africa. Military leaders were demanding resources for the defense of India. Politicians were calling for support of resistance movements across occupied Europe. Everyone had a compelling case for why their particular battle was the most important. Churchill could have tried to fight all these battles at once. He had legitimate reasons to engage on every front. But he understood something that many leaders never grasp. Fighting every battle means winning none of them. Instead, he made a series of incredibly difficult decisions about which battles to fight and which to avoid or delay. He chose to focus Britain's limited resources on the Battle of Britain, the air war over the British Isles. He understood that if Britain lost control of its own airspace, nothing else would matter. All the other battles, no matter how important they seemed, would become irrelevant if Germany achieved air superiority over Britain. This meant saying no to a lot of important objectives. It meant disappointing allies who needed support. It meant accepting short-term losses in some areas to ensure long-term survival in the area that mattered most. But here's what made Churchill's approach brilliant. He didn't just pick one battle and ignore everything else. He sequenced his battles strategically. First, win air superiority over Britain. Then, once that was secure, gradually expand to other fronts. He understood that strategic patience and careful sequencing could accomplish more than trying to do everything at once. The result was one of the most decisive victories in military history. By focusing Britain's resources on the battle that mattered most, Churchill not only saved Britain, but created the foundation for eventual victory in the larger war. Now, you might be thinking, "Shirley, that's a compelling war story, but how does this apply to modern business leadership?" The truth is, most executives today are making the same mistake that Churchill avoided. They're trying to fight too many battles simultaneously. Think about how many strategic initiatives are running in your organization right now. Digital transformation, customer experience improvement, operational efficiency, talent retention, market expansion, product innovation, cost reduction, sustainability initiatives. The list goes on and on. Each one is important. Each one has compelling business justification. But are you trying to do so many things that you're not doing any of them well? Look at companies like Apple under Steve Jobs. When Jobs returned to Apple in 1997, the company was dying because it was trying to fight too many battles at once. They had dozens of products, multiple operating systems, and no clear focus. Jobs' first major decision was to eliminate most of Apple's product lines and focus on just a few battles that the company could win decisively. He didn't try to compete with Microsoft on enterprise software. He didn't try to match Dell on price. He didn't try to out-innovate every competitor in every category. Instead, he picked specific battles where Apple could have decisive advantages: design, user experience, and premium consumer products. This focus allowed Apple to pour all of its resources, talent, and attention into a small number of products that could be truly exceptional, rather than spreading those resources across dozens of products that would be merely adequate. So how do you develop the discipline to pick your battles carefully? How do you resist the temptation to fight every fight and instead focus on the battles you can actually win? Let me give you a practical framework that you can start implementing immediately. First, conduct a battle audit. List all the major initiatives, projects, and objectives that your organization is currently pursuing. Be honest about how many battles you're fighting simultaneously. Most leaders are shocked when they see the full list written out. Second, apply the resource reality check. For each battle on your list, honestly assess the resources required for success. Not just financial resources, but time, attention, talent, and organizational energy. Then compare the total resource requirements to what you actually have available. Most organizations are trying to fight battles that require 150% of their available resources. Third, use strategic triage to categorize your battles. Which battles are existential? If you lose them, nothing else matters. Which battles are important but not urgent? Which battles are nice to win but not essential? Which battles are you fighting out of habit rather than strategic necessity? Fourth, implement sequential strategy. Instead of trying to fight all important battles simultaneously, sequence them strategically. Which battles must be won before others can be attempted? Which victories will create resources or capabilities that enable future victories? Which battles can be delayed without significant cost? Fifth, practice strategic saying no. This is often the hardest part for leaders. You have to disappoint people who have compelling cases for their particular battles. You have to accept short-term criticism for not addressing every problem immediately. But strategic leadership requires the courage to say no to good opportunities in order to say yes to great ones. Finally, establish victory criteria for each battle you choose to fight. How will you know when you've won? What does success look like? When can you declare victory and move resources to the next battle? Without clear victory criteria, battles tend to drag on indefinitely, consuming resources that could be used elsewhere. Let me share a perfect example of this strategy in modern business. When Satya Nadella became CEO of Microsoft in 2014, the company was fighting battles on multiple fronts and losing most of them. They were trying to compete with Apple in mobile devices, with Google in search, with Amazon in e-commerce, with Salesforce in CRM, and with numerous other companies in various markets. Nadella could have continued trying to fight all these battles simultaneously. Each one had strategic justification. Each one represented a significant market opportunity. But Nadella understood that Microsoft's resources were finite, and that trying to win everywhere meant winning nowhere. Instead, he made a series of strategic decisions about which battles to fight and which to abandon or de-emphasize. He essentially gave up on mobile devices, acknowledging that Microsoft had lost that battle to Apple and Google. He de-emphasized consumer search, recognizing that Google's lead was insurmountable. He stopped trying to build a comprehensive e-commerce platform to compete with Amazon. But here's what made Nadella's approach brilliant. He didn't just abandon battles, he chose new ones where Microsoft could have decisive advantages. He focused the company's resources on cloud computing, artificial intelligence, and productivity software. Areas where Microsoft's existing capabilities and market position gave them real competitive advantages. This focus allowed Microsoft to become the leader in enterprise cloud computing, to build significant AI capabilities, and to transform Office into a cloud-based subscription service. By picking their battles carefully and focusing resources on winnable fights, Microsoft not only survived but thrived, becoming one of the most valuable companies in the world. Here's what you need to remember about picking your battles carefully. First, your resources are finite, but the number of potential battles is infinite. You cannot fight every fight, so you must choose strategically which battles deserve your limited resources. Second, fighting fewer battles doesn't mean being less ambitious. It means being more strategic about how you deploy your ambition. Sometimes the most aggressive strategy is to focus intensely on a small number of objectives rather than spreading your efforts across many objectives. Third, saying no to good opportunities is often necessary to say yes to great opportunities. The enemy of great isn't bad, it's good. You have to resist the temptation to pursue every attractive opportunity and instead focus on the opportunities that align with your strategic advantages and core objectives. So here's my challenge for you. Look at all the battles your organization is currently fighting. Which ones are you fighting out of habit rather than strategy? Which ones are consuming resources without delivering proportional results? Which battles should you abandon so you can focus on the battles that really matter? Share below one battle you're ready to stop fighting so you can win the war that actually counts. Let's get real about leadership.